It makes him unique.
I was streaming?
We are streaming. We are live.
All right,
Nice.
cool.
So, welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Alexandra and Dan from Jacksonville Natural Healing. Dr. Dan, as everyone refers to
Dr.
him.
O'Leary.
Either one.
Okay.
I don't care what people call me.
I was introduced as Dr. Dan, which I think
Okay.
is very memorable,
Yeah.
very
It's a
mnemonic.
cool name.
Yeah.
I agree.
In the Hispanic community, I'm Dr. Danny,
Ah,
which
Danny.
is funny. So I'm Dr. Danny, Dr. Dan, Dr. O'Leary. So I'm like, call me whatever. It doesn't matter.
Just come to me.
And I thought we could talk today about allopathic medicine and homeopathic medicine and how your approach to combining these in Jacksonville here in Florida.
Cool. I love that topic. That sounds good.
Yeah. And I was saying before we were, I think last week maybe, or maybe even with Alejandro when Alejandro was here, partner, co-founder of your center. I was saying that Dr. O'Leary is also like a embodiment of what you promote through your treatment. Like
Yes.
you yourself look great. He's like, yeah, I trust this doctor.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
It
like
works.
where it started off, was just like, I think it always, like any health journey, like for someone, it always starts with yourself.
Absolutely.
And then I guess that's with anything. You always you're doing things in your life that trying to improve your life. And once you reach goals and are able to improve your life, then it's like, well, let me show this to other people. Let me help other people out, especially with the internet now. Like there's so many people that are doing that. So that's kind of how I got started, always in the health.
So I'm not alone in that I'm suspicious of advice that I'm given by people that don't follow it. When you see doctors outside chain smoking cigarettes and,
Yeah.
and they come in, and obviously not medically well themselves for visible reasons.
Yeah. And that's the training is the emergency medical sickness training. So that's what I always say. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system. So the doctors don't need to be healthy because they don't deal with health. They deal with sickness. So it's just, how do I deal with symptoms when I'm sick? So that was like,
that's the DSM, right?
yeah. When I got into chiropractic, I was like, wow, they're all about health, fitness, self-healing, self-regulating. And then that's why I didn't go into being a regular medical doctor, because that was all treating sickness and disease with medications.
Kind of patching symptoms.
Yeah, that does not jive with me. That's not what I like to do.
Maybe give some of our viewers a bit of a background before we get too deep into the homeopathic side, into the allopathic side from your credentials. What background do you have as a doctor? Give us.
Well, also what brought you? I mean, your personal interest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I started, I played soccer my whole life. So from a little kid to high school and then to college. So really soccer brought me into college. So I just went to any schools that I could get full rides, so I didn't have to pay anything.
Right. Smart.
And then once I was like, oh no, I'm like a junior. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to be professional, so I got to figure out something. I was like, what do I like? Like, what do I like doing? And I was like, well, I love helping people. Like, I love helping people. And then since I was little, I always loved trying to figure out, or I was interested in why people were sick, or why a kid missed school, or why you would go to the doctors and everyone would be sick at the doctors, but then the doctors and nurses weren't sick. So I was like, well, if they're sick, how isn't everyone else sick? So I was always interested in just why people were sick and then how to help them get better. So that's when I've looked like, okay, I think doctors do that. So that's when I basically started out as pre-med in college. And then from pre-med, I wanted to be just a regular doctor. And as I got deeper into looking into it, because I didn't know, I was just like, yeah, doctor, that sounds good, help people. And then I figured, wow, that's just, I don't want to do surgeries. I don't want to do medications. I don't want to work in a hospital. What else can I do? And it ended up my cousin's husband was a chiropractor.
Oh.
And I realized, I was like, well, maybe I'll be a chiropractor. And I remembered back to when I was little, I was in high school and we were doing our 2-a-days. So lots of running. We had to run like 2 miles in the morning for time, 2 miles in the afternoon for time. And from breathing so hard, my ribs, they subluxated a little bit. So when I couldn't take a deep breath in without a lot of pain. And he ended up living down the street. And my dad took me to him when I was in high school, and he just cracked everything on me. And it went away. And I could breathe. And I was like, what kind of magic is this? That you just cracked me and like the pain went away immediately. Totally forgot about it. But then I remembered back when I was in college, like, let me look into chiropractic. And then the chiropractic was when I looked in the philosophy is the body is self-healing, self-regulating, just don't poison it and then give it what it needs. And you're going to heal from, most things, not everything, but most things. So I was like, I love that philosophy, and I get to take care of people that aren't super sick. So that's how I really got into chiropractic. And then when, in chiropractic, there's a lot of different philosophies. There's some chiropractors that are just straight. They definitely believe that by adjusting the spine, we're just going to fix everything. Like if you have digestive issues, or you have sinus problems, or you have whatever, we can adjust you, and that's going to help you get better.
What's your stance on that?
I'm a little mixed because I'm very mechanistic. So I like to know the mechanism. So that was hard for me in school because I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. But then when I tried to figure out like, how does that work? There wasn't really research into showing that it works.
Oh, interesting.
Patients got benefit, but I couldn't figure out why. So I was like, okay, this is difficult because I don't know. I don't want to go along with that because I don't know the mechanism to it.
I think that's one of the biggest debates in between chiropractors and doctors, if I'm not mistaken, is precisely about this form of practice where doctors have to have mechanism. There's no, they can't say, oh, well, this amount of patients like it and got better, and have anecdotally, and because you're not doing a controlled study, and this is how all modern medicine.
So it's like a scientific method.
And for this reason, doctors usually disparage chiropractors as non-scientific, but of course, most of chiropractic theory is purely scientific, and then there's various. Well, sorry.
No, this is good. He's on.
Well, its basis is from science, but there's interpretation at play, and this is where I'd like to hear more about how the different approaches that you encounter and yours. So I'll get into there. I did find ways that would work. That like you could adjust. You could adjust a certain area and it would help someone with digestion, or it would help someone with asthma, or it would help someone with other issues. So there is a mechanism for it.
Through your clinical experience, or you researched?
Through research, yeah. So luckily there's been chiropractors that have kind of had the same questions. And they've ended up, before they were chiropractors, they were researchers. They had PhDs. Which is awesome because they were finally able to do research and try to prove some of why this stuff would work. Because patients got benefit. You don't know if that's placebo or not, and it is a lot of it because someone comes to you and you tell them they're going to get better and you're very confident in telling them that they will get better. If they don't believe it, no matter what you do, they're not going to get better. Yeah. So the placebo effect and the nocebo effect definitely works. So you got that philosophy, and then you got the more mechanistic musculoskeletal doctors, which is more accepted by the medical profession. So that would be why medical doctors, hospitals, other places would work with chiropractors, because it's musculoskeletal health. It's working on joint function, flexibility, making sure like everything's in alignment. There's that side of it. So
how, so how would I, let's say if I'm looking for a chiropractic clinic, how would I distinguish? Is it like somehow reflected in the credentials? What kind of method or philosophy they follow?
It's kind of...
You just have to ask the question.
Yeah, it would almost be, that would be a good question to ask them. Usually if you're in like a sports chiropractor, you're in like an injury center, like something that has that in the name of the chiropractor, you're going to be more musculoskeletal. Then usually the more, and it's not every time, but the family practices more, people that are not sports or accident, it's more just family practice care. It seems to be more of like that, the other philosophy. And that it's a cool philosophy because it works to an extent. I'll tell you, the research behind it is it actually affects the brain. So if you just,
if you just work on the spine.
Yeah, you're really affecting the brain. And then when you're changing the brain's perception of the body, and then the brain is able to heal the body.
It is a cool concept or philosophy.
So it's all about the sensory information coming into the brain, because the brain is only going to change the output based on the input that it gets.
Correct.
And the spine has the most input into the brain about where your body is in space and what's happening in your body. So when you stimulate the spine, you really stimulate the brain.
Right. Through the spinal cord, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you would stimulate, like, the upper neck has a lot of receptors telling your brain what's happening. So stimulating the upper neck will stimulate the brain in certain ways, which could change then how the brain is treating allergies or the immune system, headaches.
Common initial issue when things are wrong there, right?
Yeah. So it's very cool that one of the areas that it showed is it affects the prefrontal cortex. So when you adjust someone, it affects the prefrontal cortex. And that went into more of chiropractic reducing the overall stress response. So that someone got an injury or they were in pain for a long period of time and the prefrontal cortex shuts down. So when that area of the brain shuts down, that area of the brain is more for like motivation and planning your future. So it's like when you get injured or you have pain, you don't feel like doing anything. You don't feel like going anywhere. You're just kind of like, I just got to lay here and not do anything. But they found when they adjusted the spine, it activated the prefrontal cortex.
This is so amazing.
And that was activated. So then that turned on. So then people were like, oh, I have more motivation. I feel like doing more things now. And they were able to start getting better because of that. And that's kind of like the idea of why that other philosophy works, because it affects the brain so much.
How new is this research?
I would say in the past, probably 10 years.
It is pretty new.
Are you familiar with Wilhelm Reich?
Yeah. I haven't heard of him in a while.
Yeah, I don't get to bring him up very often because very few people are familiar with his work.
Yeah.
But he went down a similar path. He also was extremely scientific in his approach, but the road that science took him down was so divergent from what people could accept that he ended up getting arrested for the FBI for shooting down UFOs. Like, who does that? He was out in the middle of nowhere. There's like zero reason to go out there and bother him. And the FBI arrested him for shooting down UFOs with an orgone cannon, which orgone was basically what he called chi.
Really?
Was he arrested? Was he like?
Yeah, he was arrested for real. Yeah, put in prison.
Did he have my brother showed me in some of his books, I think that he referenced chiropractic and like that certain areas of the spine you could stimulate and that would move the chi basically. People
would come in and that was one of his main things where he fell out with modern medical practice, as he came in and he said, I can't heal people who are physically like malformed if I don't touch them. And he was a psychologist.
Wait, malformed by birth?
No, he was saying that you can, he said that he can see what's wrong with a person by how they walk, how they move. He said, but the thing is, I talk to them and I'm supposed to now talk them out of walking the way they do, carrying themselves the way they do. And he's like, it's not, it's not as effective as I just lay them down on a table and through massage and through manipulation of the like basically chiropractic care.
Right.
He's like, I can help them start to be in a better physical shape, and then everything will be better. They'll feel better. Their psychological problems are coming from the fact that they're walking this way, moving in this way.
No, absolutely. Let's just bring us back to that body-mind connection that is like inseparable, but we just tend to. I tend to have a forward head posture. I'm always trying to look for something else. It's a psychological condition which can make me miss things behind me, make me not pay it, so it's like something that I recognize and can work on, but it requires also massage, physical therapy to do it properly.
That's why I started, after working with patients, I would do the chiropractic, I would do the muscle work, we would do exercises, but then I found like some people just didn't get better. And because people have a lot of stressors and they have a lot of issues going on in their lives. So it was like, what else am I missing? It was like the one input of chiropractic, muscle work, stretching wasn't enough to affect that person's health because they had so many things going on. They weren't sleeping, or their diet and nutrition was bad, or they were doing drugs. So like that effect wasn't enough to help them. And that's when I got into functional medicine.
Okay.
When I started into functional medicine. So I was like, okay, here's another level of a way that then I could help people. And functional medicine it's kind of crazy because it's basically what you would expect a regular doctor would do. Like you would go to the doctor and they would basically work up your condition and see where's the dysfunction at. And then they would treat the dysfunction that they would find. They wouldn't just give you drugs for the symptoms. They would just treat the dysfunction and then the person would get better. And that's what functional medicine comes in.
Isn't it amazing? Because in its core, it's we're familiar with Ayurveda. It's like it's the same principle.
Yes.
But like we're just now in the West coming like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. This is how we should address. Let me ask, like, instead of what hurts, like ask like, how's your sleep? Where you live? What do you eat? Right? What's your what kind of work you do? Right?
Right.
Are you happy? Like my doctor always says. So, and I'm gonna ask you this important question. I would just regular MD. Yeah, that's
awesome.
his. Yeah, he's a pretty good doctor. He does like prescribing meds though.
Yeah.
but he's very diligent.
That's great.
Yeah.
And
He talks a lot about listening.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm like, why do I want to get so like deep in the weeds of figuring out what's wrong if maybe the fix is just always sleep, exercise, nutrition, mindset? You know, I'm like, why am I trying so hard with that when that's like the main fix? The hard thing is that fix is not on me, it's on the patient. So it comes down to their motivation and discipline and them changing.
Correct.
So it's hard. I want to help, fix them, but I have to basically say, well, I can't fix them. This is all on them.
So,
how many? Oh, sorry.
So do you, thank you. So do you incorporate this in one single approach? Let's say if a patient comes to you, you're not like, okay, do you want just chiropractic treatment? You don't even ask. It's just, that's your holistic approach for every patient.
Right now, I get a lot of, because I haven't really marketed the functional medicine yet. So, and there's not a lot of functional medicine doctors in Jacksonville.
No.
So that's actually for 2024, that's what I want to do, is kind of push towards that more. Because the chiropractic is basically come in, people have back pain, neck pain, something hurts, and I'm helping to get better that way. But I love the functional medicine part of it, of someone with, like I had a patient that came in, she came in because she had back pain. But after talking to her, she was like, man, I'm having, besides this back pain, my joints hurt. They're stiff when I wake up. I have like tightness that I feel over my body. And I'm like, okay, we need to maybe test you for an autoimmune disease. Did some tests and ends up she has rheumatoid arthritis. So basically, which is an autoimmune disease where your cells, your immune system attack your joints and they break down your joints over time. So it's different than a osteoarthritis, which is like a wear and tear arthritis, which everyone just gets from living.
Yeah.
The rheumatoid arthritis is for some reason, the immune system now is attacking your own joints. And
this is where you see the joints swell, right?
Yeah, swelling, and then over time they'll break down. And it'll be multiple joints. It'll be your hands, fingers, feet, and knees. And that comes down to really genetics. You have to have a genetic predisposition to it, but then there's an environmental trigger that starts it.
So like epigenetics, basically.
Typically like a stressful thing happens, and that just starts the whole process.
So it can be dormant.
So what we got to do is just stop stressing. Why are we stressing? It's killing us.
That's a big deal. Yeah, of course.
I'm very worried about stressing.
So, Dan, tell us about the Jacksonville Natural Healing. I know that, I presume that's the first venture, right? Like your own clinic.
Yeah, me and Alexandra, that was basically our idea, because she loves helping people too. It's like, let's open a natural healing center. And she was interesting because her background medically is a respiratory therapist. But she didn't, of course, no one knows, but we have a yoga studio, which we're happy you're a part of.
Absolutely.
And our viewers got to learn about from Alexandra.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
Her.
So she didn't even, when we first started the idea of Jack's Natural Healing, she wasn't even a yoga teacher.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she ended up doing that kind of, it just happened. And then we're like, well, let's implement yoga into the Natural Healing Center, because before it was only going to be like nutrition, functional medicine, fitness, chiropractic.
So how old is this idea? Because you opened in 2021, correct? On at least in this location. So
this was like 2017, 2018.
You started
when I first met her. Yeah.
Oh, Okay,
Yeah.
and this is when the first idea.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Yeah. So then somehow it came to fruition, because it's very, I was working as a chiropractor, just getting paid a salary. She was working at a job, making a salary. And it's like, okay, do we really want to quit these jobs? And like,
Because those are good
Go and
jobs
do
that
it.
you study for. Those are not like, it's not like you were a barista at Starbucks. Going, nothing against being a barista at Starbucks, but it's a lot easier to walk away from that than something you went to school for a long time for.
So, and then I'm more of a business person than I am like a chiropractor. Because then it's like a lot.
Correct.
I got to do both now, which is very difficult. But I told her at the start of it, I said, hey, I've been through this. I know that I have to be the doctor. I have to take care of the patients. That has to be my main focus. I need you to focus on the business aspect of it, because it's very difficult to do both.
And she was okay with that.
She was good with that. And she's been
You guys
amazing
have
at it.
really knocked it out of the park from my view. I think you have a beautiful location. It's so well maintained, well reviewed. People love it.
Thank you.
Alexandra enjoys teaching there, and I did not think she would enjoy going to a yoga studio.
Yeah.
I was very critical of yoga studios, and I know you already mentioned it didn't start as one, and that's why I have even more appreciation for what you put there. My feeling was that when somebody wants to learn yoga, it's a spiritual path as well. It's not just a workout place. And I felt like a lot of places you go to just feel like a workout place. And that's fine. It's okay. But I feel like you're kind of, you're taking away from somebody whose path might be yoga.
Yep.
And you're now in the way, and by calling that yoga.
Yep. That's one of the biggest reasons we wanted to implement it, was not for the physical part of it. It was the emotional, because we knew that no matter what we did with the person, that spiritually they had to be okay, or they had to be working through the emotional aspect of it. And I have no training in that at all, and I can't help patients with that. But the yoga seemed to be a pathway into that to help people. So we were like, wow, this could be really cool.
That's right. And under the context of yoga, I think you have more freedom to cover things that you really can't from your perspective.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't fight a battle on every single front. You got to choose your battles.
For sure.
There's a huge paradigm that the medical establishment benefits, and we benefit from in a lot of ways. If I'm in an auto accident, don't take me to the closest yoga studio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to go to a modern medical facility.
For sure.
And they're great with that.
Yep.
But I think that capitalism and the industry that has both been a chicken and egg along with capitalism, it provides very mechanistic solutions based on profitability. And it's easy to critique that system. We all can find fault with it. But I like that you balanced the benefits of what it gives along with something new to provide, that you found, you learned the established ways first, and now you're changing them. And I think that's the effective way to do it long term, to have impact and benefit.
Love it. Great way to put it.
Put it in the marketing material.
Yeah, I love that.
You have a recording.
Yeah, we'll clip this out. Perfect.
Well, that's the only. I'm pretty lucky in that the people, I don't have to gas my guests, because the people I interview are people I really like yourself, people who really feel have brought benefit to the city, to Jacksonville, and I think that's why it's great that it's also in your title. I think the sobriquet of Dr. Dan is really good to quickly identify, or Danny. I think it's really good as well to quickly identify how you are in both camps, and that you're bringing benefit from two otherwise competing schools of thought.
Yeah, it's been interesting, because I am the two sides, like having the yoga has there's a lot of people that want to come in to knowing it's yoga studio to offer the things that they do, their healing way. So like whether it be someone that does Reiki or reading the eyes or the tongue, or there's a lot of people that want to come in and do things. And that was I like it, but then that was difficult for me in a certain aspect, because I'm so mechanistic, but I know that stuff works because there's a subgroup of patients that's going to work very well for. And then other patients, it may not. But it was difficult having all these different people come into the studio saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this.
Do you find yourself becoming like a Penn and Teller of, that you feel like you got to vet all these people now coming in and going,
And we messed up almost at the, not messed up, but at the beginning where we just wanted to have everyone come in and help. And then we're like, whoa. Like, this is a little bit too far off of what we can offer patients, because it's difficult to know the person that's offering some of these healing therapies,
right?
Because it's just like there's no degrees, there's not a lot of trainings or certifications. It's just kind of something that they've done. And then we have I have a chiropractic license, so I mean, for the state of Florida. So what I do in my clinic, I mean, they could come after me for. So it's like, wait, we can't just have people coming in doing all these different things in the studio, even though some people may benefit from it. Right, so that was difficult at the beginning. So now we've definitely vet whoever comes into studio, and Alejandra for sure too. It's like, who are you coming into this space? Even yoga instructors too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Right? And just like as you were saying that, especially with the pandemic, with all the online training, there's so many experts now in all kinds of healing that you have to be very diligent. I agree. I know
and there's so many. It's been like the good and bad, because I found people that are very all the PhDs that are on Instagram and online. I mean, they've definitely came out strong in the medical field and said like, no, this is like what the research says. This is the guidelines to follow. Like, that has been there. So it's been good because it's been giving me access to that side of it, of saying, here's the studies that back things up. Because a lot of times you don't get that. As a clinician, you don't get that. You have to go find that type of stuff. But when you have the PhDs, it's very interesting how you can find out all this research and then implement it clinically. And then the other side of it, there's people that just aren't doing it.
You're vetting this as well, because you find, I'm sure, PhDs who say things on all sides, and some are pretty out there. And so I'm sure you have. Tell us a little bit about that. How do you vet these? And I know that you're not saying I approve of all these YouTube videos. I'm aware of that. But how, when you pick what you will forward or share with your patients who have these issues, how are you, or look for yourself? How are you analyzing these YouTube videos? What do you look for?
It's cool because it's all. Luckily, I've been in the field for a long period of time now, 14 years. So it's kind of like my cumulative knowledge that I've seen, like, throughout my practice, of what's worked, what doesn't work, what's worked with colleagues, what hasn't worked, and then seeing what people online are showing. Here's the research for it, and then taking a little bit of it and implementing it.
So it requires the experience, and what you're looking for is how experienced they are versus maybe quoting something they read and saw one time. Yeah.
I mean, for sure the people online that are PhD researchers, you can just tell, because they never say like, this is exactly how to do it. This is because sometimes online right now, it's like, it's stuff that I heard like 10 years ago that people are giving, like, everything is like, will heal you, it's like this product or this supplement will heal you, or like, eat blueberries because it'll heal you. Everything like has their thing, like, do this.
Pulling a massive worm out of your finger will heal you.
Yeah.
That's got to be a camera trick, right? You ever get those? I'm like looking up medical things on YouTube sometimes, and they'll be like, oh, here's how this doctor in the Philippines removed this worm from this person's finger. And I'm going, I still don't know at this point if it's a camera trick or what, because I've never seen anything like this. They'll pull a worm like this long out of like a person's finger.
Yes.
I literally click off that as fast as I can. Yeah. I can't watch it.
No.
Yeah. So it's we have that side of it, and that's what kind of sometimes irritates me, is it's like people have gotten into the health field and they're like, yes, this is good, I'm going to start recommending things, but it's like so far behind what like really works, because like you can't give someone one thing and they're going to get better. I mean, they're just going to sell you something. So the researchers, because the researchers specifically are saying like, we don't know for sure like if this works or not, but here's what the research has shown. Like that's so anyone that's saying like this is how much protein you need to eat, like we don't know exactly, but this is what the research shows. It's not like, here, eat this much, you know? So
Right.
anyone I see online that's like, do this specifically, I know, like, well, maybe they don't know exactly what they're talking about specifically. Maybe they don't have the full training, because it's always like, we don't know for sure. That's how I always know if it's someone to start looking into.
And there's so much new information, like, and results coming out. I feel like just like as you said, what is that, 10 years, that new research, which is not even so new.
Yeah, when you started talking about inflammation from all your research, I'm like, why is everything coming back to inflammation? Who cares about inflammation? And I looked it up and I'm like, oh my God, it's everything. Inflammation is causing everything nowadays. I never heard of inflammation before unless I got a bruise. And I'm like, it's inflamed, it'll go down, it's fine.
I know.
Now sugar's inflammation.
I went through that same thing.
Is inflammation.
Like,
Everything's inflamed.
why is everything inflammation?
But isn't everything inflammation?
Yeah, but and inflammation is your immune system, like, healing you. So then it's now acute inflammation, and then there's chronic inflammation. So you have the acute stuff, which is good, great. But then the chronic can be bad. But then chronic inflammation be like, why is your immune system chronically being activated? And then it would be like, oh, well, you're stressed, you're not sleeping, you're eating foods that just aren't agreeing with you, the mindset, all that. It always comes back to that then.
I got to remind myself after this, if it's not already bought, to buy the domain inflammationinformation.com.
It's a long name.
Yeah, like but it's memorable. That's why I think it might be available. If it was shorter, it'd be gone.
Inflammation info?
.info. I think that's going to be gone now. But inflammation information is memorable, even though it's long.
Well,
I get lots of that.
Talking about the like that one thing you do and you're gonna be healed. Okay, obviously we already kind of
Ozo Motley. No, Ozo Motley's a band. Ozo Metlit. How many of your patients are taking that weight loss drug? What's it called? Ozo.
Yeah.
This thing is hugely popular now. There's the pill you can take. You don't have to exercise or anything. You just lose weight if you take this
Ozempic?
pill. That's it.
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
Oh,
so many people are taking this.
I'm sure there's like a long list of side effects or something.
And I don't know if it's good or bad yet, but there's been some studies that they've shown that it can, like, slow gastric emptying to the point where it'll cause trouble. And then there's studies showing that people lost more muscle mass than they did fat mass. Because when they do the studies, they show weight loss, or they show weight loss. But they're not showing fat loss.
They didn't get themselves a $50 Tanita scale that can
differentiate.
That was too much of an investment when they were doing the research.
And no places. I mean, I don't think that's exactly a fair assessment, because no one really, when you do the research if something works or not, it's always weight. So even if you go on like a low calorie diet, over time you're in a calorie deficit, like, you're going to lose some lean muscle. Some lean mass.
Sure. Hopefully you don't need it as much, because you're not carrying as much through it. So.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I think it'd be very helpful for people, because that's one of the issues, is like people overeating. They just can't control it. They eat too much. So if there's something that can affect the brain to keep people from overeating, I think that's great. I think it's of course there's going to be side effects that the person's going to deal with, but I'm almost on the side of like, well, the side effect of them being overweight and having insulin resistance and being predisposed to other diseases is worse than maybe the side effects they may get. Should they be on it long term? Probably not. Hopefully it's just something that can help them change their lifestyle
habits
and make it easier for them, and then over time they won't need it. That's always the goal.
When I was a personal
go ahead.
When I was a personal trainer, I used to tell people, there's nothing you can put in your mouth that is going to help you unless you're a high level athlete. You don't look for anything that you're going to take. There's no pill, there's no food, there's no it's not, don't eat this or eat that. It's just not eating. It's just not it's just eating less stuff without starving yourself. Getting right to that point and eating what you need and getting that precise.
Like finding the how can you get into a calorie deficit over time and you're able to maintain it. Like, that's the main thing. And the answer is, we don't know. It's for you, like, to really figure out like what works for you.
Yeah.
That's it. So is it a keto diet? Is it paleo diet? Is it intermittent fasting? Is it counting calories? It's like, well, whatever works for you. Yeah. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are always looking
so
for
much
health
work.
food. But
You guys don't seem to have
most
a trouble
healthy
though,
thing
because
is
you guys are both skinny and in pretty good shape. So
Thank you. Well,
we stay very active.
Yeah.
And I still have to, I had to throttle my diet back. I got quite a bit of extra weight when I moved back to the U.S. because I really like the food here.
nobody believes when I say this story. Nobody's
Yeah,
like,
everyone's like,
Bill?
no, Bill's always been thin. I mean, no, you can see it in the photos.
really,
Yeah, you can see it. I went up from a size 30 to size 36 pants.
did you really?
Can you
And
imagine?
yeah,
No.
and when the size 36 were starting to bust out on me, and
They didn't bust out on
they
you,
were,
but
I realized they were getting tight, and I was like going to have to buy another new whole set of pants, and I was like, no. That was where I drew the line.
Yeah.
Plus, a friend had asked me, based on his wonderful, your friends remember you at the best. You know, your friends remember the
Yeah.
best in you. And my friend had wanted me to be nude on his party invitation for what was a very famous party here called the White Party.
Oh wow.
It ran for 40
well,
years.
okay, you gotta elaborate. It sounds very weird when you just say like nude on the invite.
People
for the
are always nude.
party.
It's always a nude man on the invite for this party.
He was one of our guests actually, which is surreal.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a fundraiser for students. Fundraiser for students. God,
Yes,
yes.
It was
Scholarships.
It was PFLAG, but it
was
became
PFLAG.
scholarships.
PFLAG, who supports students of like LGBTQ
That's evolved.
community. Yes, and it started with like 4 people 40 years ago, and then it grew to like, I don't know, 200 people every year. he
But
would
very,
host
very
it.
particular guest list.
And
It
you
was
had to
very-
wear white.
And the
and
guest
you-
list was determined way ahead of time because it
Yes,
was.
and it's only by invite. You can't buy tickets, nothing. And
But it was
so you have
amazing
to wear
event.
white because it's a white party, and it would have a theme, like something extravagant every time. And the more extravagant you come, there will be like awards and things like that.
They were
But
set up like Southern balls used to be a long time ago, like these old genteel balls.
the opposite of that, I would say.
Well, the point was
There was nothing.
point was
nothing.
the idea was the look and all those same things and raising money for charities and
Yeah.
all of those same elements. But there was certainly, considering the causes were adult in nature, it was certainly a party that was much more adult in nature.
Yeah, and then the invite normally would feature like a male.
Like abs and like
Yes, and I think Bill's was it from the back? I don't remember. But anyway, that's why he's like, I gotta lose
both.
weight.
I gotta get
I was like, no, I'm
I'm gonna be on this invite.
I cannot be on this
people.
invite in my worst physical shape ever. I've got to get back in shape.
Isn't it funny how it takes something like that? Like it's always something like someone's got to trigger you to be like, oh man,
Yeah.
okay, ready. I'm ready to change now.
Until then, I had every logical thing stopping me. I was like, oh no, it's because I'm going to the gym. I'm going to get muscle first, and then I'll lean it out. It was everything under the sun to just not stop eating all that food.
I do that.
Well,
yes.
I want to go back to healing part of the Jackson Natural Healing. So you mentioned that self-regulation, self-healing is one of the core pillars of your approach. So what would you, I know everything it's like an Ayurveda, like it's all individual, but let's say some basic points. If someone's like, I want to get healthy, or I want to lose weight, or I want to feel better, I want to sleep better. So what would be like the basis, the starting point for pretty much anybody? What would you recommend?
I would say sleep. Like sleep is a big thing. Like if they can start with that, if they have disrupted sleep, like that's going to be
Improving sleep.
Yeah, that's gonna mess them up the most.
Do you like sleep trackers? Are sleep trackers good?
I think if it gets you to like start paying attention to your sleep, then yes. I think some people can kind of go overboard with them, and then it keeps them from not sleeping because they're so concerned about how they're sleeping. But if it gets them started, I think that's a big start for them. So I would say sleep first. And then a lot of people, I think controlling calories and then controlling the sugar. Like I don't want to demonize sugar because I don't think it's bad. Because it's really, if you're not eating excessive calories, then sugar's okay. It's when sugar's easy to overeat, so you eat excessive calories. But keeping the blood sugar spikes down, keeping the insulin levels down, seem to really have an impact on people's how they look. like their face being bloated or not, which then if they look better, they feel better. And then just on like the brain working better, like you feeling sharper, you feeling more motivated. It seems like when people, they overeat processed food, sugars, they just have too much energy. They just are getting too much energy. It really slows them down and changes their body a lot. So I think really the sugar and then keeping the calories in range is the second biggest thing that someone could do.
So how can you figure out how many calories you should consume a day?
There's a lot of good trackers online that you can just, there's formulas and you just put in the formula. So it's going to be like your
establish your basal metabolic rate.
Yeah. So it'll just be your height, your weight. You want to try to get your like body fat percentage, which you can do on just one of those scales. And then you got to put in your activity level of what kind of like you do during the day, how active you are, and then do you do any exercise? And you basically just put it in here. You put in a couple numbers, and it'll give you pretty close to what your basal metabolic rate is. And then that's kind of, okay, here's my maintenance calories that I need to consume. Well, basal metabolic rate is just going to be like, here's the calories you eat to stay alive.
Right.
Like just if you're weighing there. Yeah. So then you type in you put in the other numbers, and that kind of gives you, here's your maintenance calories of, if you stay here, your weight's going to stay the same. If you eat more, you're going to gain weight over time. If you eat less, you're going to lose weight over time.
So much work to count calories.
Yeah.
Less with a program. I used to have to do, one of the things I used to do when people would come in, my initial intake assessment was to do a BMR on them. And we used to, I'm sure you're the same, you had to do it all by hand. I had no form. I'd fill in everything.
No, but to count calories, like what I eat through the day. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I think people should break it down start with meals. It. I think they should, like, if you've never done it, try it. So you see what you're actually consuming. Because everyone thinks they're consuming less than they really are. So, like, the shock of being like, whoa, like I'm eating way more than I thought it was, is a good thing to start tracking. And then you don't have to do it all the time.
Right.
But
you learn pretty quickly. I was like obsessed with all this calorie stuff when I was a teenager. So like, and it stays with you. Like, more or less, I don't know, a little butter, spoonful of butter, how much oil, right? Or like an average cake or an average chocolate bar. You kind of know this, and it stays with you. It can range like 20 calories here or there, but it is a lot of work in the beginning.
Yeah, that's why I think you need to put time into it.
When I was like lifting weights, I used to have an account with Cisco, the people that now I can't stand. I never would again, but I used to have my own Cisco account.
Wow.
Because I would order chicken 20-pound boxes at a time.
Wow.
How long did it take
you
to eat it?
I was massive though. I was working out and lifting all the time. A week. I had boxes coming every week. Like I was ordering chicken by the case.
Wow.
Because I was just like, I would have to just grind it up and just eat it constantly.
Wow.
Like it was insane. When I wasn't eating chicken, I was eating eggs. I was supporting some poor farm that now I'm always like, no, nowhere near that. I'm always like all about where meat comes from now.
All right. So sleep, controlling caloric intake, and sugars.
Yeah. And then, of course, the fitness part of it is
exercising.
Key. Yeah. I look at exercise, it's like a vital nutrient to your body. I mean, it's the best drug that you could take. I mean, it is like, they always say that if you could put like what exercise does into a pill, like, it would be a global, like.
Now, does it matter whether you lift weights or do Tai Chi? Or is it fine anywhere in the spectrum? Can somebody just do something?
I think you have to have like movement. Like any movement is a good start. Like if people want to just move. Walk? I would say any movement. Like as long as they're moving. Yeah. As long as they're moving. Tai Chi is a
lot of just held positions and they move slowly.
So that would be a good start. I would say that you have to move on from that. Your body has to adapt to something more stressful.
Okay.
And so I would say weights, you have to get into weights because you have to put on muscle. Because as you age, it's very difficult to maintain muscle. And everyone wants to stay active as they age. But most people, they're either not eating enough protein or they're not exercising to stimulate muscle growth. So their muscle mass decreases as they age, and then they can't do as much as they want. And
when
that's
does
when they
it
go
start
downhill.
Decreasing? Sorry for interrupting.
15.
Yeah. I think it's as you hit 40. It's either 30 or 40 where you really
start lifting weights next year.
Yeah, and you have to do more as you're older than you did when you were younger because the hormone profiles change. Like everything, you get metabolic resistance or anabolic resistance, where it's just hard to keep muscle as you age.
So your own body weight is no go anymore. You got to add some weight.
Yeah, you
So
need
no,
to
animals
progress.
don't have this at all. Humans are in the minority of species that have
True.
this impact. Most animals just put on muscle because the hormones said to.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're like, it's the season.
Yeah.
I get big.
Yeah.
I'm swole.
Yeah, and
'Cause
we're
it's
not like
spring.
that. Yeah, it's amazing how much, like you, and one of the things that like, especially men or everyone, they don't eat enough protein as they age, and it just has such a bad effect on people's bodies because you just lose muscle because you have to have that protein stimulus to maintain your muscle. And it's easier when you're younger because the smaller amount of protein stimulates muscle and testosterone. You don't need as much, basically. As you're older, you need a lot more to stimulate that same amount of muscle protein synthesis.
This is so interesting. I would think it would be reversed because you're growing when you're young,
Yeah.
so you would need more protein.
Yeah.
But actually, your body functions sort of better,
Yeah.
or more like
Because you're basically testosterone, your hormones are such at an optimal level, so you don't need as much of a stimulus.
stimulation.
But then the hormones are decreasing as you age, so then you need more of an environmental stimulus to get the same benefit out
You
of it.
like creatine as well?
Yeah, creatine for sure. I've
So-
taken that. I recommend that for everyone.
What is creatine?
It's that stuff I buy and put it
Right, I know.
So it's it's an energy, basically
What
an
does it
energy.
do?
It's like creatine. You have a creatine phosphate energy system. So that's like your explosive energy system. So it's where you would, before you would start burning sugars for fuel in exercise, you start with that creatine phosphate. So if you're going to do sprinting, you're going to do weightlifting, you're going to do something like that, you're going to use that creatine phosphate system, and it can be depleted. So you can go through it with exercise or just
You know about the ATP cycle,
right,
where adenosine triphosphate.
Yeah. So what part is
breaks down and becomes
creatine of the ATP
diphosphate.
cycle?
it's a different part of it. It would creatine, the creatine phosphate system can produce ATP quickly.
So you do want that so you don't like
Yeah.
eat up yourself.
Creatine causes many things to happen. It's not a single point of mechanism, but in general, it causes more edema, right? So you've got more
It would be intercellular edema.
Right.
So that was the whole thing, is like no one wanted to take it because they thought it would make you swell.
Right.
But it actually is not going to be subcutaneous. It would be in the cells. So it would actually make your muscles look bigger. You wouldn't look watery. So that was back in the day. That's what they thought. And now
Also,
it
it's
doesn't
now
do it.
monohydrate. They've got better mixes of it, and it used to cause bloating a lot more than it does now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some, it's like one of those things that some people, it affects them. Like they just don't process it. But it's really good for brain health too. So besides muscle, I'd say for brain health.
Causes fluid in the inner. It basically, think of it as causing fluid in your cells that helps get rid of waste. So your cells
great.
are more
So it's like
functional.
evacuation also helping.
They
So-
put it in I think in yours as well. And there's, if I remember correctly, when we got the Viome pills,
I was getting
they all have creatine.
also? Okay.
Yeah.
So protein, plant-based versus animal. What's your
Their
stance?
animal is higher absorbable. Plant protein, if you can get a isolated plant protein, then it's going to work as good as
Whey isolate, like from whey.
like a pea protein isolate,
Right, mhm.
something like that,
Plant-based
like a
protein.
plant-based isolated protein. If you get enough protein, like in general, then you can stimulate muscle growth the same as you had with a animal-based protein. But if you're just eating plants and trying to get the protein, it's all bound up in the fiber, and you're not going to get enough protein from that, because the animal protein is just ideal. And one of the reasons it's got the highest leucine content in it. Leucine is the amino acid that stimulates muscle growth the most. So you're going to be able to break down the protein into the amino acids and absorb them easier than if you didn't have it in a plant protein. The only difference is if you get like a protein powder that's plant-based, that's already isolated. So then it's going to be easier absorbable. So you can do it if you want to do plant proteins. It's just more difficult. I think they just came out with a study with that.
Is there any drawback to that we know of to whey protein isolate?
The only one that I know for sure that some people that are more prone to autoimmune diseases is that those proteins can stimulate the immune system in certain people. So you could cause a reaction in certain people.
Okay,
and
similar
some
to
people
milk.
don't digest it. Yeah.
So it's similar to people who have other problems with milk. It has no lactose, so it's not the same
No.
as intolerance to milk, but
Correct.
there's other mechanisms
The
of,
protein.
okay.
So it would be the lactose intolerance would just mean you don't have the enzyme to break it
That's
down.
for the sugar.
That's for
not
the milk sugar.
protein.
But the protein part of it would be the different parts of the immune system, like an allergy or an immune sensitivity. So you have IgE is an immune allergy, IgA, IgG, IgM is immune reactivity.
So if people are having problems with allergies, you would suggest they cut back if they're taking a lot of whey protein
Yeah.
isolate and see if that's causing it.
And they would know if they had an allergy because they would have some kind of reaction right away. They would have hives, or they would get itchy throat or something like that.
It wouldn't be seasonal allergies, and then
No.
they're like, oh, it's maybe the whey protein.
Correct. It would be more of them. It would show up differently. It would show up as digestive issues, or it would show up as maybe achy joints. It would show up more of like an autoimmune type of way, or brain fog or something like that. Fatigue. That's how it would show up.
I know I started getting indigestion. And
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking. And I think that the reason I started getting indigestion is that I messed up my digestive system by doing all the things I know how to do, but combining them in a too extreme fashion.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people I have when they first start a whey protein, or they want to eat more protein. I have them take hydrochloric acid pills, so they get their stomach acid to a higher level, so they can break that protein down. Because as you age, you lose stomach acid. You don't produce as much stomach acid. So then if you don't have stomach acid, you can't keep bacteria under control, and then you can't break down your protein. So then if you're eating a lot of protein, then you're not going to break it down, and that's going to give you digestive issues. So you can take hydrochloric acid pills.
And you give this advice also to your patients if that's applicable to them. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
What do you think
you guys
about
all
the
should
use
go
of...
to Dr. Dan.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about the use of mom's vinegar, the apple cider vinegar, in lieu of HCl pills?
Yeah, it's a good test to see like what your stomach acid levels are at. If you take that and you get heartburn right away, then you know your stomach acid levels are probably pretty good. If you can take that and you don't get any sensation of any burning at all, then that may be a sign that you need some hydrochloric acid. So you could take that instead of the pills, you could take that. Wouldn't be as powerful as hydrochloric acid pills, but it would still be good to kind of start the digestive system and acidify everything. Yeah.
How long
like
normally do people take it for?
As much as you want. I mean, some people just take it like before they eat a big meal. They just take like a little shot of it before they eat.
That's what I've been doing recently. I didn't do it yesterday, and I did get indigestion last night.
You take the vinegar.
Yeah,
I did, vinegar. That's what I take vinegar just before the meal, and it was working great.
Yeah.
Last night I had a problem when I decided it would be a great idea to eat quite a bit of pizza.
Yeah.
And follow good pizza, but still pizza.
Still pizza.
And follow it with quite a bit of tequila. And apparently my stomach is not yet healed to the point. It's much better than it was when I identified what I did that was messing it up and stopped it.
Yeah.
But it's not yet to the point that I can fill it with tequila and pizza, apparently.
That's why I literally have in my cupboard board, I have enzymes, like digestive enzymes. You have that too? That I just know, like, all right, I'm going to load up and help digest this. Or I have like something to help repair the lining of my digestive tract that I'll try to take before. Yeah. It doesn't, sometimes it doesn't work and you're still waking up and like, dang, couldn't help it.
Still...
And I know it's indigestion because it's fine. 3-4 hours later, then I'm I'm not able to be horizontal.
Yeah.
I want to go back to those pillars. So we have sleep, we have caloric intake control and sugars, and then exercise. And you have to add weightlifting as you age and increase protein.
Yeah, I think everyone should do weights, like definitely weights to stimulate muscle growth, and then some kind of cardiovascular activity for sure. Like you should definitely have that.
What else?
Then
that's basically
then you're covering most things. Then it comes down to like what's your mindset and the spiritual side of it, like that.
After that, just don't let things drop on you.
Yeah.
Well, since we were talking about sort of like
maybe we should have that first. I don't know, but that's in there.
I had to do that first, but that only happened for me once I got married.
Yeah.
Until I got married, I was at pretty much every bar until they closed.
Wow.
Which is very much not good for your health.
No.
Mainly because of conversations you have.
Well, also going back to sleep.
That's one thing about that though is that That's why like some studies with alcohol shows that alcohol is beneficial, because it's not that alcohol is beneficial. It's that the setting you're consuming alcohol in is such like community. It's like friends and laughter and community. And that's where the health benefit comes from, which is
100%.
Maybe that, I don't know if that worked for you in the bars, but
I think it did right up until it didn't.
Yeah.
It did right up until my body was like, "You had enough of that. You're socialized enough. Get out of here. Go home. Find a wife. Calm down."
Yeah, it's funny.
So, since we were talking about the like supplements, and are there like some must-have supplements that everybody should take? Basically, like
I love. I think if you don't eat fish, like you definitely should look at omega-3s, like having some omega-3s, because those are just essential fats. So you have to have those to function properly. So if you're not eating fish, you're not going to get those type of fats. If you're vegan, then you got to look at like an algae source from that. So that's a little bit more difficult, but omega-3s are kind of a key, especially hormone health and everything. You need those.
D3.
D3, yes. I just think like taking a good multivitamin, multi-mineral.
So you believe in multivitamin? Okay, because
It's still a good idea to do the pregnancy ones. Those are the only ones that are regulated.
Prenatal.
I do. Well, now, like with the industry, they have lots of good ones.
But you are a proponent of supplements in general?
Yeah. I mean, my idea is like, I would love it if I could get everything from my diet, but I just won't. Like, I'm just not disciplined enough to do that. So that's what I'm going to supplement with it. So I know I'm at least helping my body. And I mean, everyone's stressed. Everyone's got a stressful life. So it's like, you support your body. Like, you're going to try to support it with nutrition, but a lot of times you're going to fail at that. So then have something else you can throw in there with some vitamins and minerals. I mean, they're the basics. And now there's good supplements that have good forms that are absorbable. So you can really get a benefit. It's not just like you're going to pee them out and not utilize them.
Right.
How do you tell which ones? Is there some way that you can kind of identify them?
Yeah. Usually you would look at the label. And a lot of times you'll notice, like the first one I look at to see if it's going to be a decent vitamin is you look at the B12. And you just see if it's not cyanocobalamin.
This is not a good one.
So it's an okay one. It's just more of a synthetic form. And it probably would...
took a cheaper route, I guess.
Yes. And it probably would still work for people. You know, it's not going to not work for them, but there would be, I would just say, an option that's more bioavailable that would work better. So you're looking at like adenosocobalamin, methylcobalamin. That's kind of like the first one I look at to see how much effort did the company go into to producing it. And then you can see like, okay, this is going to be a decent product.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, those little tricks that are so helpful. I'm pretty sure like everybody will appreciate. I'm going to use them.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, I'm glad we have them logged so I can go back.
Yeah.
I'll go back so I can make notes and write down.
Well, just have a couple of more minutes left. What would you like to share about what you do, about what you offer? Maybe something I didn't touch.
Let's make sure he finished listing the supplements, because we might have interrupted him when he was listing.
Oh. Sure. Well, we said like multivitamin.
The basics that I would definitely take are a multivitamin, multimineral, and then have omega-3s. Because a multivitamin is going to have D and magnesium, so you're going to get all the basics there. And then after you kind of do that, then you can look at like your health more. Is inflammation an issue? Digestion an issue? Do you need to take like some probiotics or look at gut health? That's when you can then really get into the weeds. One of my favorite supplements now is molecular hydrogen, which is a super cool supplement that no one's really taking right now.
Tell us.
Yeah, it's
everything.
Molecular hydrogen. It almost mimics the effects of exercise. Like when you take like all the health benefits of exercise, molecular hydrogen mimics those. So it would be a very powerful antioxidant also. But you basically take it in a pill. It's magnesium and like hydrogen. You put it in water and it dissolves, turns into hydrogen, and then you drink the hydrogen.
Wow,
it's super cool.
You can
fuel your car on it.
Yeah, I take the Quicksilver Scientific is a really good supplement brand, and they have a really good product.
Okay,
so I take molecular hydrogen now.
I've never heard of that.
Cool. Yeah,
I like taking drugs.
Yeah, that's a neat one. I'll get you some.
All right,
so you can have some. So that would be the supplements. I think if the supplements come into like your specific things you want to work on for your health, and then you can get really in tune with take this and this and this. Take them for a period of time. Make sure you do the lifestyle changes, and then go off them for a period of time.
Now, is this over-the-counter molecular hydrogen, or you need a prescription?
No, you just
can
get
buy
it.
it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's certain like places that produce it. The Quick Service Scientific is the one I trust. It's got a good one.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's. If I will likely not have time to do my own research, and that is definitely.
That's where I'm going to get you it.
So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I am good at knowing who does their research and copying off someone else's paper. I've gotten well ahead of life that way.
All right.
So,
What?
did you have anything else that you?
No, I just like anything Dr. Dan wants to share in addition to what we have discussed.
Yeah, I would just say that we're trying to do something big in Jacksonville. Like we're trying to have something different for everyone. We're trying to include everyone. We're trying to make our prices so that they're
Jacksonville Natural Healing.
Jacksonville Natural Healing,
right? Is your website?
Yeah. So we're trying to make it affordable, along with providing things that people just can't get all under one roof. Which is sometimes difficult because things are expensive nowadays.
Right.
But we're trying to help people out.
And for our viewers who didn't see the show with Alejandro, we discussed there as well. It's really impressive the way in which the Jacksonville Natural Healing as a whole community have been able to bring these ideas to people who don't have. You don't have to be rich. They've been able to bring this to people in all income categories, and I think that's why I would definitely encourage people to check this out, because this is open now to more people. I only saw it before to people who had means.
Yep, exactly. And that's what one of the troubles with functional medicine is. It can be very expensive. So only if you're rich, have a lot of money, are you able to afford it. So we're trying to bring it to everyone, which we're very excited about.
Yes, and that's the special, well, not special offer, but you're gonna be actively like promoting functional
in 2024 that's what we're going to start doing. So from digestive issues to thyroid issues to autoimmune disease to fatigue to depression to anything, any health problem that you have, we will set up consults to see if we can help you. Obviously we can't help everyone, but that's what I'm very good at too, is saying like, nope, this is something that we cannot help with, but at least set you on the right track with maybe another provider that can.
This is so inspiring and very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very impressive.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This was lots of fun.
So much for coming on.
And we should maybe, after you guys start like the functional medicine part, have you both back.
Yeah, I would love to.
And we can, because it's like two parts of a very, very important structure, place, space. Talking about energy, also, I love the energy of the space. Yeah. So Hendricks, 1550
Hendricks Avenue. Yeah,
yes.
Right across the street from the library and the tennis courts.
Yeah.
And tennis court.
And JacksonvilleNaturalHealing.com.
Yes.
Yes, and we're going to post all the links again.
That's right.
Yes.
Excellent.
And Dr. Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
very much.
Appreciate it.
Let's go get some lunch.
That sounds great.
All right.
Still didn't bring my mouse.
Yeah.
All my videos end with, how do you turn this thing off?